Good morning, everybody. It's almost 11 a.m. on December 14, 2023. And actually, this is kind of in response to a comment I received about how the person wrote that the police department, sheriff's department where I live should be ashamed of themselves for what they've done to me. I agree. So I'm going to just validate what you're saying, because they're all in on it, folks. They're all complicit in their organized crime scheme, gaslighting, harassment. They're all in on it, and they're all going to be rotten in hell. Carmageddon is coming for them all, because that's what happens when you violate your oath of office and torture innocent citizens for profit. But anyway, let's get on to the first order of the day. So to respond to your comments, on Sunday, October 8th, 2023 at 17:33 p.m., I called the Jackson County Sheriff's Office to report the theft of an antenna mast. It's like a ham radio mast. I can't describe it. I actually had to look it up because I didn't know the name for it. I knew what it did, but I didn't know the name for it. So I had to look it up on Amazon to report it. I'm not going to say who the officer was that showed up on my driveway, but they didn't take it very seriously. They didn't write anything down. So my first call was, the way it works here, unlike in New Jersey, when you call, you actually call 911, which is crazy, because 911 should be like for emergencies, and filing an incident report should be a separate phone number, but that's the way they work it here. So you call and you get dispatch. There's always a nice person on dispatch, and they take your information, and then they pass it on to, I guess, whatever officer or deputy, whatever, is available to either come out or take the report or not take the report, right? Which has happened more often than not. So this call for service, it's called a call for service. Because of the value of the item, which was over $700 approximately, and because of everything else that happened that week with the vandalism, the theft, I kind of rolled it all over into one incident. Of course, my insurance company looked at them individually, and of course there was no payout for me. So I'm going to be searching for another insurance company because my deductible is way too high and they haven't done a damn thing for me. Although the claims adjuster the claims adjusters, they're phenomenal. They're just so nice. So I finally received what appears to be an incident report, right? An incident report. So at the very top, it says theft and then my last name, and it's dated October 8th, 2023. But when you scroll down, first it says a theft. It has nothing indicating what the theft was, what the value of the theft was, or the fact that I reported other things to this officer. None of it. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you my report here, minus my personal information, okay? Because I'm going to get rid of my... This is what the report looks like. Blank. It's totally blank. The top portion of this has my name, address, and phone number. And that's it. It's blank. No details. I gave them an approximate time frame that I felt that the theft occurred. I gave them the value. I gave them what the item was. And because it was submitted for an insurance claim, when the insurance adjuster contacted the sheriff's department, it took him weeks to actually finally get this piece of shit paper that's empty. He said he's never seen anything like it before. There is nothing on here that indicates what the item was, where the item was located. It was on the driveway. The value of the item. Nothing. Zero. Might as well submitted a blank sheet of paper with my name on it. So that is to validate what you said, that the local sheriff's department here should be ashamed of themselves. Well, unfortunately, the local sheriff's department here is controlled or handled by the county lawyer. Yeah. The county lawyer alters, fabricates, whatever they do. Now, that's not the way it works. When I called the Attorney General's office and spoke to the criminal division, I asked them, how does it work? They said, oh, no. No. They said that the county lawyer is under the sheriff. Under the sheriff. The sheriff does not report to no county lawyer. But that's not the way it works here in rural Kentucky. In Jackson County alone, there are, I don't know, under 2,000 people. But in my area here, it's under 800 people. Okay, in New Jersey, when I lived in New Jersey, there were almost 50,000 people, to give you just a little perspective. Okay, so I received my local newspaper today. It's dated December 13, 2023. And of course, plastered on the cover, they always have the photos of the people that were sent to jail, to the detention center. And most of the time, it's drug-related. And most of the crimes that are associated with drug abuse, theft and, just trying to get petty stuff to sell for their drugs. I mean, it's not like, I can't describe it any other way. It's like, whatever it is that they're doing wrong is a direct result of them using a controlled substance or whatever. So there is law enforcement accused of messing an undercover federal mission. Imagine a heading like that. Local law enforcement is accused of messing up an undercover federal investigation. Now, for all you targeted people out there, what is a federal investigation, right? It usually involves a targeted person, somebody who's on the list for harassment and torture. So I'm not going to name the name of this young man, because he may be a targeted person. He's 36 years old. And basically what he did is he broke into like a garage. I don't know whether, they're saying a break-in, but who knows? Maybe the garage was unlocked. I don't know all the details. And he was like trying to get some coins and change and stuff and like parts and stuff, and probably to sell for drugs. So I'm going to fast forward to what he was charged with, because this is really important. Given what you know about the crimes that have taken place here in rural Kentucky against me, Lorraine, a 65-year-old woman who's lived here for 4 years, between neighbors tearing down gates, the poisoning of my pets, thefts, like even the theft that I just mentioned to you on October 8th. They didn't even write it down. They didn't even write what it is. So here, this is what this guy was charged, okay? This is a guy who is high. He was under the influence. He breaks in. We don't know if he broke in. We don't know if he just walked in. Maybe a window was open. But they charged him with burglary in the 3rd degree, an attempt. So an attempt. Public intoxication with a controlled substance, which excludes alcohol. Disorderly conduct. Hey, everybody on my block has disorderly conduct. Every one of them. In the 2nd degree. And criminal mischief in the 2nd degree. So now this guy gets charged with all these things. And you know what's happened here. And there is nobody on my block, not one neighbor, has been charged with anything. So when you file a report, a FOIA request with the FBI, with the CIA, the Department of Justice, Homeland Security, and they say, or the prosecutor's office or the Attorney General, well, we can't confirm or deny in the name of national security. This is how you know that you are on some list. When some 36-year-old who's high, who allegedly he's attempting to burglarize. It doesn't say that he did. He was attempting to burglarize. They put it in writing here. It was an attempt. Okay? Disorderly conduct in the second degree. Criminal mischief in the second degree. So this guy gets charged with all these things. He never left with anything. He didn't actually steal anything, but he got charged for all of these crimes. And not one of my neighbors here or in New Jersey got charged with anything, including the cops, because they've broken into my house several times in New Jersey. So there you go. That's how one of the ways that you can know for sure that you are a targeted person. When you file an incident report and it comes back blank, well, that's happened in New Jersey too. And in fact, I went into the police department in Manalapan, New Jersey, when I lived at 52 Sutton Drive, and I received a blank report, incident report. I said, well, why is this blank? He says, well, we can't give it to you. I said, I'm the one that filed the report. And then I asked him, I said, well, can my lawyer obtain the copy of the report? And he says, maybe. Yeah, maybe. This is how they act. This is how they respond. So now we're going to get on to how they're all complicit. They're all in it. They're a bunch of greedy effers, okay? So I mentioned about Steve Lehto, Lehto's Law. Okay, I'm going to show you here his channel.
Underwater, a fatal
Let me just get rid of this.
I'm the property owner. You stole it from me. It would shorten the government's time to notify a potential property owner of a forfeiture proceeding from 60 days to 7. And they italicized 7 like that's outrageous. 7.
Okay,
and it's
so
time
I'm not
to file
going
a complaint from 90 days to 30.
The list of these thieves stealing money from people, driving, whether they're moving from California to New York, whether they're going to visit somebody during Christmas, whether they're a homeless veteran who has to carry their money around with them. These criminals, these disgusting criminals, think it's okay to pull people over and steal your money under the civil asset forfeiture law. Most people are completely unaware that this happens. So they are trying to get this law annihilated, okay? And the bill is called H.R. 1525. It's a Fifth Amendment integrity restoration. It is the FAIR Act of 2023. Do yourself a favor and look up the H.R. 1525 FAIR Act. Okay? This is to restore your rights. Instead of restoring your rights, the National Sheriff's Association representative writes a 3-page letter to the House of Representatives, Honorable Dan Crenshaw in Washington, D.C., to vote against H.R. 1525. And I'm going to read this sorry-ass, disgusting letter of the National Sheriff's Association writing to Congress to violate your rights. And he writes here, please preserve the critical tool to fight drug cartels against H.R. 1525, Fifth Amendment Integrity Restoration FAIR Act of 2023. Dear Representative Crenshaw, despite the fact that they are killing hundreds of Americans daily, H.R. 1525, the FAIR Act, would largely dismantle a crucial tool in the fight against the Mexican drug cartels. Federal civil asset forfeiture. Now, wait a minute, folks. Is this guy like living in 2023? Is he totally aware about the open borders? Okay? We're letting these people in. But he's writing a letter telling Congress to vote against this bill. Okay? And he's claiming that everybody that's got money, that's traveling with money, is a drug cartel dealer. Okay? For example, H.R. 1525 would repeal equitable sharing. Yeah, sharing with him and his buddies, which is the cornerstone of state and local participation in joint operations with federal law enforcement, especially on task forces such as HIDTA, on behalf of the nation's 3,086 sheriffs. The National Sheriff's Association therefore asks you to vote against H.R. 1525. Is this disgusting? This is all about greed and violating your rights. And then he goes, listen to what he writes here. Especially after 9/11, the public rightly demands more federal, state, and local cooperation, not less. Yeah, like the Patriots Act. Yeah, we really needed that. Nonetheless, H.R. 1525 would repeal equitable sharing. Yeah, the equitable sharing is sharing with them and their buddies, stealing your money and distributing them to them and their buddies, okay? So, repealing equitable sharing would not promote civil rights. I mean, what planet is this guy living on? It vindicates the Fifth Amendment to protect property owners. Oh my God. But it would be a big victory for drug lords and other organized crime. Okay, well, guess what? It appears as if the sheriff cartel is a form of organized crime, because you are claiming that if somebody's driving down County Road or whatever, and maybe they just went to their bank and decided to withdraw it, given the fact that the banks are screwing everybody, maybe they withdrew all their money and they're driving to maybe deposit it in another bank or whatever, and they get pulled over and they've got $5,000 or more, you can steal it from them, and then it's reliant on the victim to attempt to sue you to get it back and pay exorbitant legal fees, which of course it's incredibly difficult. So you count on stealing people's money and them trying to fight to get it back. Yeah, you're talking about operations against the drug cartels. What about regular people? And when you're pulling people over, how do you know that they are involved in drugs? How do you know that they're part of a drug cartel? Just because they have got cash on them? H.R. 1525 proposes other bad amendments as well. For example, it would shorten the government's time to notify a potential property owner of a forfeiture proceeding from 60 days to 7. And it's time to file a complaint from 90 to 30. These radical reductions, far out of step with usual civil procedure timeframes or deadlines, won't improve justice. Do you hear this? They're designed to choke down the use of civil asset forfeiture, regardless of the merits of the case or seizure. Well, so far, folks, these criminals have proved time and time again on YouTube videos. Go to Audit the Audit, High Impact Vlogs. Oh my God, the list is endless for these YouTube channels exposing crime and this asset, and Steve Lehto here. People are recording cops on the road all the time to prove them wrong. They're thieves. They even plant drugs in your car. I just watched a video where a woman, she rented a car. And there was a mistake. You know, AI makes mistakes. You know, they're computers. So they wrote that the car was stolen. So she gets pulled over. She has no idea what is going on. Long story short, they arrest her. Take her phone, rummage through her car, all of this. She's driving a rental car that she rented, that she paid for. She could not produce the receipt. Why? I don't know. What do you think? It was stolen? It had to have been in the car. It had to have been on her person, but they couldn't find it. So anyway, she's ended up suing them, and I'm sure she's going to get a lot of money on this. But, so let's continue. H.R. 1525 would increase the government's burden that property, which was subject to forfeiture, or that it had a substantial connection to crime, from a preponderance of the evidence standard to a clear and convincing evidence standard. Well, when you watch these videos online, folks, what they did to this one veteran was astonishing. There was no evidence. Zero evidence. There was only evidence showing he had a receipt from his bank. He had a receipt. They didn't care. They took his money anyway. But nothing about the nature of civil asset forfeiture demands this. A preponderance is the greater weight of credible evidence, which they usually ignore. And the fact finder is free to decide which evidence is credible and what testimony, documents, video, and other evidence add up to the greater weight in each case. Yeah. Now, mind you, this is a letter to Congress wanting to vote down this bill, this act. This allows for a nuanced review of the evidence and is fair. He's saying most civil proceedings use this standard, including ones for the care of children, property valuation in eminent domain, contract disputes, and tax disputes. Children. They're calling children children is an asset that you can steal from someone. Children. Is this crazy? Under existing law, the government bears the burden of proof to show that specific property is subject to forfeiture. Nonetheless, H.R. 1525 would shift the burden onto the innocent owner defenses to the government as well. That is, the government would have to prove that a punitive owner did not know of their conduct that subjects the property to forfeiture, or upon learning of the conduct, did not do all that was reasonably expected to stop the conduct. Just as a defendant bears the burden of proof on an affirmative defense in a criminal case, however, a property owner should bear the burden on these affirmative defenses. Most of the time, the property owner will have a better access to the relevant evidence, and shifting the burden would force the state to conduct intrusive discovery against owners. And this appears, this is a different font. Let's see. Yeah, it's weird the way this the font changes on this page. Anyway, financial institutions must file a CTR report in connection with disputes of $10,000 or more in cash, and federal law prohibits structuring transactions to evade such reporting requirements. Section 5A of the HB 1525 would increase the government's burden to prove a structuring charge by inserting the phrase knowingly, quote unquote, in each of the provision's 3 parts, even though they already require the government to prove a culpable mental state. That is, that a defendant acted for the purpose of evading the reporting requirements. So what they're saying here is that, many people who have cash, they're making these people are making the assumption that it is drug related and not reportable, that it was not reportable for tax purposes. Well, guess what, folks? Imagine pulling over all of these community stalkers that are paid. I wonder what they do. Do you think they report their income? Do you think they report all those gift cards or gifts that they receive for harassing you? I think if there are 30% of the U.S. population are quote-unquote gang stalkers or agents or whatever, I think they need to be coughing up some of their tax dollars, and we could save the United States. And he goes on to say, ostensible reforms like H.R. 1525 rest on an incomplete picture of the fight against trafficking. I mean, this guy is making the assumption that anybody that carries cash, a large sum of cash, he's making the assumption that they're involved in a trafficking, in a drug cartel. There are a lot of people out there, in fact, younger and younger people that have YouTube channels and musicians. They got into the Bitcoin and stuff. These are self-made millionaires. You think they walk around with just credit cards in their pocket? I mean, I see the people around here, when they go to pay something, they've got wads of bills in their pockets. Like, I'm not accustomed to that. In New Jersey, everybody pulls out a credit card. It's like nobody's carrying cash. But that's not like that around here. So if you pull somebody over and they've got too much money, they're involved in a drug cartel? Please. And how would you know that upon pulling them over? Like that veteran who had a receipt that he just withdrew the money from his bank account, and he was traveling with his dog and they stole everything from him. Or about the family that was moving across the country, and they took all of their money. This is nuts. So this sheriff association is claiming that the Fair Act should be repealed. They're against the Fair Act. They're against the Restoration Fair Act of 2023. All 3,086 sheriffs are against the H.R. 1525 Fair Act. They're against it. Or at least he's writing as a representative of all the sheriffs in the United States. They think they should be able to steal whatever they want. So he writes in summary, Congress would give the cartels a gift by passing H.R. 1525, largely dismantling federal civil asset forfeiture and repealing equitable sharing. Our terrible policy. Equitable sharing. Who's the equitable? Who's the money being shared with? Please vote against H.R. 1525, and thank you for your continued commitment to public safety and the nation's sheriffs. The sheriff that signed this is Sheriff Jim Skinner, Collin County, Texas, Treasurer and Chair, Government Affairs Committee, National Sheriff's Association. And then he has a list of sources here stating some codes and cases, commission report. All he's discussing here is mental state for conviction, trafficking, anti-structuring, cooperations, and forfeiture statutes. Not saying anything about the rights of people to be able to carry their own cash with them. Okay? So that's the end of that little rant there. If anybody wants a copy of this letter, I have it in PDF form. Or what you can do is you can download it yourself. You can go to, it's Steve Lehto, Lehto, and it's dated December 11, 2023, Sheriff Letter in Favor of Civil Asset Forfeiture. When you scroll down to his description section, he has a link to the PDF. Okay, so this is what it looks like. One second, folks. Okay. So, yeah, guys. They're all complicit. Welcome to the USA. I have a video that I'm going to need to play for you guys later. that I found on TikTok. It's quite alarming, folks. For anybody that has a car loan, a mortgage, which is a lot of people, car loan, mortgage, second mortgage, equity credit line, you're going to want to hear this video. I sent it to me, so I'm going to have to download it, and I'll play it for you guys later. Please hit the thumbs up. This is Lorraine Alternative Homesteading. Please write to Congress and tell them you want to maintain. You vote for H.R. 1525, the Fifth Amendment Integrity, Restoration, Fair Act of 2023. You vote for H.R. 1525, Fifth Amendment Integrity, Restoration, Fair Act of 2023. Why is it called FAIR? FAIR is the acronym for Fifth, the letter F, Amendment, the letter A, Integrity, the letter I, Restoration, the letter R, the first letter of restoration. FAIR Act of 2023. H.R. 1525, vote for H.R. 1525, the FAIR Act of 2023. Signing off for now.